Welcome to another episode of the in.sync podcast, the podcast connecting spirituality and business. We are super excited to be back here today, and we will be talking about how to adopt a growth mindset and, more importantly, how to act on it. So some of you might know the book Mindset, the New Psychology of Success by Dweck, who talks about basically having there's two kind of mindsets out there, which is the fixed mindset, where you believe that anything, and that you're basically born with your abilities and that you can't really evolve them, that you're just the way you are. And on the other hand, having a growth mindset where you believe that you can achieve anything, you can learn anything, you can train yourself, you can adopt new skills, and basically the sky is the limit. So yeah, that's what we will be talking about today. And I have a growth mindset as well in terms of creating better intros, because just that you guys know, it just took me like 5 times to actually start this episode. But I'm trying to not get discouraged, and in the spirit of this episode,
you did great. You did great by trying.
Thanks. That is what a growth mindset is about, right?
Exactly.
Trying and improving. So hopefully,
Can I just throw in like one comment in here? What feels very aligned with that. I saw a TikTok the other day about a girl. Of course, yes, it's always TikToks. It's actually, by the way, another thing I need to put on there. TikTok is now investing in all the small episodes learnings on TikTok. So it's actually boosting its educational content. It's great. Like 15 million or something they pledged to invest in that series. Mm-hmm. So I think it's actually great to digest like small pieces of information and learn a lot, also for me. So there's one thing, and
that's amazing. We're not sponsored by TikTok, just by the way.
By the way, not yet. That's another thing of a growth mindset, saying not yet, right?
Yes, right.
So so I saw the TikTok, and there was this woman telling the story of her dad was raising her, and her dad actually encouraged her to fail every day with something. So he asked the kids, hey, how did you fail? What did you do to fail today? And when they did not fail at anything, they were actually, they were like, okay, you need to try harder to fail on the day after, because you want to encourage people to try, right? The kids should try. And that's another thing of the growth mindset, to just try it and you grow, and not just not trying because you take it as a given. And I think that's beautiful if your parents do that for you already, to encourage you to just try and fail and then learn by that. That's really beautiful.
I actually think I've heard of that particular story, and I found it very inspiring as well. But before we get into that, maybe I was just briefly elaborating on that. Maybe just for people who haven't read the book or who are not very familiar with the terms, Tanya, maybe you want to give an overview of what you perceived as the fixed mindset and what the growth mindset is. Like, what do you think are the major differences?
I think the problem with it is that it determines your life path, so to say, right? For me, it's about like growing, and a fixed mindset. I can't identify with it because I don't think I have it. My mom also raised me the way that I can do whatever the F I want, right? And I just need to try, and I can fail. And it was never like, I got encouraged as a kid that I'm great the way I am, but also for trying things and for learning and for putting work into something, and for the effort, which I think is crucial to actually developing yourself. So a fixed mindset is saying, okay, this is a given. This is your abilities. That's maybe your talents you have, and that's it. Live with it. And that means you kind of, you measured by that what you can already, and you think there's no way for you to improve. So you feel threatened by everything. You see a lot of things as a challenge. You feel threatened. Your ego is strong in a sense, I think, because you feel this is your abilities and you can't change anything about it. So this is a given for you. So you're threatened by people that have more abilities. You don't feel encouraged by them or inspired, because your limitations are you have limitations, right? Because your abilities are like lower maybe. And a growth mindset is like the other side, right? You feel you can get there. You can grow in terms of intelligence and abilities and talents, and you can achieve this position, and you can be more athletic and stuff like that. And yeah, as I said, I think it determines your whole life path in a sense, because you just feel encouraged by the people around you if they do things. And in a fixed mindset, you're just like disencouraged, and you see everything as competition.
Interesting. I mean, I share that definition as well. What you said about you were brought up to be in a growth mindset. I think I was too. My parents have always encouraged me to try different things, and I never thought, oh, there's something that I can't do. However, I do think I was in a fixed mindset to a certain degree through the environment that I was in. And I mean, the school that I was in, I think there's a lot of the whole society construct again. It did make me feel like my abilities are limited. So I think I was kind of in the middle. When I grew up, I knew from my parents, who did a fantastic job in pushing me and you can achieve things, but then actually going into the world and being surrounded by people who had a fixed mindset, and teachers, for example, I wasn't a good student as in high school for many reasons, and I because I wasn't really interested in it, and there was only one teacher who said she has the potential, she just doesn't want to do it, whereas everyone else,
she's a lazy ass.
She's just lazy, she's not interested in history, but she has the ability. There's only one teacher who said that, that I'm actually intelligent, and the rest of them were more like, okay, you're like a middle average student, and you don't have the ability to be good at I don't know, English or German or whatever it was, history. And so I kind of believed that, and there was so many people around me who were always better at taking tests because they were studying for this stuff, and I wasn't interested in it. So I just never thought that would bring me anywhere. I mean, I knew I need to graduate from high school and stuff to go to university, and it would probably help me because that's what my parents told me. But I personally did not see the value in studying history or I don't know, psychology or whatever it was. No, philosophy. Philosophy and religion. So I didn't see the...
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think we came to the conclusion already that our education system, the way it is designed, is broken in a way, and it doesn't really support the development of kids, or not of most of them. And I mean, we got graded by how we do on a test, and sometimes it's people that don't need to learn. So me when I was a kid, I didn't really need to learn, but I loved studying. But I was good in it already. So my belief was also, okay, I'm smart. So for me, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because everyone says, and I'm scoring good in tests, I believe that I'm smart, so I'm having an easier life there, right? But I feel you don't get graded by the joy you put in or by individual talents. It's always graded on how tests you how you perform on tests.
And that's the problem, right? That's what I mean. When I, for example, I didn't score well, so or I scored average, not even bad, but just average. And I then thought, okay, my abilities must be limited then, because the real ability was not tested, which is, or the ability that counts is how easy, how socially and emotionally intelligent are you, and how can you adopt new skills that might be relevant in building a successful life or building a business or so. You don't really you don't learn these things. So I was definitely always in between a growth and a fixed mindset, and probably more on the fixed mindset side of things when I grew up. And I mean, the key question is really how can you break out of it? Because now I see everything as a learning curve, and I use every opportunity to build my skills. There's almost nothing that I think I can't do. I might not be, because of there's certain restrictions. I'm not super tall, so I might not be a basketball player, but other than that, I think
just need to jump high.
Or that, but other than that, I think, the sky's the limit. So there's nothing where I think I can't learn and I can't do.
Yeah.
But now looking back, it actually, makes me think what was the triggering point? And yeah, I think most people struggle with, number one, understanding that there are two mindsets, and then adopting, in my view, the more favorable, which is the growth mindset. And then more importantly, and that's what we will be speaking about as well, is, how can you act on it? Because knowledge is only power when it's applied. I think I'm
Yeah.
quoting someone with that. I don't know who that is, but I heard it somewhere. It's true.
I don't know,
Knowledge
but we
is
use
only,
it a lot
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And for me, I mean, I never had the feeling that I was in a fixed mindset, but for me, maybe it was more the sporty side. And I think it's very close to like the limiting belief episode we recorded, right? Where I also thought, okay, my talent is for sure not sports and being athletic or anything. But I also learned, okay, if I really put effort in it, then I can get somewhere. Maybe not, as you said, like being a professional basketball player or a professional whatever, or Olympic athlete or something, but I can get to a certain extent if I really want. But as a kid, for example, I tried everything to get out of sports education, like this one class a week. I hated it so much because I sucked at it. So yeah, in a sense, I always had this belief as well, or I had no interest in it, so I didn't want to, try even. And so what changed was little things. I did not compete anymore. So I think schools is also a very competitive environment. You don't want to look bad in front of others. And for me, this is also, I always think if I try new things, for me personally, I'm trying to try it out by myself, right? For me, it's always another layer if someone else is coming in. So doing it in public where other people could judge me is obviously gives me a bit more anxiety, like everyone, I guess, than trying it by myself. One example, very stupid example. A couple of years ago, all the birds, lions, whatsoever, electric scooter came to Vienna when I still was living there. And literally all my startup friends were like, oh my God, it's so dope. And, it's like so great to get around. I'm like, oh my God, I should try it. But I was afraid of trying it. I mean, by the way, I have a bike license. I can actually drive a motorbike, right? But I was afraid of using, I was afraid of trying e-scooters. Funny. Anyways, so I was really like, I was like so ashamed that I would fail, that I like just fall, basically, not even really, just fall when I get on it. So I tried it in the middle of the night in Mariahilfer Street where no one was there. My first time in line. I mean, just for me to overcome that I think, well, I'm not good at it. And I don't have a natural ability to drive on a scooter, which is like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And then it worked. And then obviously the next day I felt comfortable doing it in public where really people were around because I know I can do it. So what helped for me is like just trying to get started by myself.
Yeah.
And then, you see if you can do it. And I think this is just minor steps and maybe not with others around you in the first place, so you get a bit more encouraged that you can do it. And yes. I mean, in the first place, yes, I also almost drove into a tree, so fine. You'll get there eventually.
But I mean, yeah, I'm sure, you and I, we have a lot of strategies to share and like how you can actually act on it. Let's maybe, before we do that, maybe let's talk a little bit more about just how you can even learn how to be in a growth mindset. Like how did you, for example, I mean, you said you actually had it, but is there anything that you or maybe I should talk about this because I was the one who felt like I was a bit of in a fixed mindset. Like how can people start shifting their mindset from I can only do this to
but for me, it's exactly the small things, sometimes you are not like, I mean, okay, so first, as you said, you need to be aware that there's a difference between those two and that it's not limited just the way you thought the past years of your life. So being aware and then just trying with minor things, everything that you feel is limiting you and just to overcome that. Because if you see that you can improve in things and that you can change actually a given thing that you thought that's there, then it's easy for you to get into this growth mindset. So mindset for me, my perception needs to develop, right? So I can just pick one thing. For me, it was the scooter maybe. Okay, I think I cannot do it because I was never good in that when I was a kid. And there's one thing that I can prove myself wrong. Oh, I can actually do it. That was a small scale. There was no public around me to judge me maybe if this is another layer of problems for me. And then I can just try and overcome small things. So scooter is one example, but it can be really everything. If I think that I'm writing because I was never talented because my German teacher or English teacher like in school said, oh my God, this is embarrassing what you're writing, then just try and write some small pieces, just to get into it and try not to judge. So like just small thing that has not to do, in my perception, with mindset per se, but just overcoming small things that's holding you back and that you feel that were true. And then based on that you see there's progress and that you see that, hey, that was maybe a limiting belief, adopt the growth mindset. That would be my strategy.
Yeah,
Yours?
I totally agree. You know, I always thought that there is two types of people, like growth and fixed mindset, really, or mindsets. Um, I personally found reading this book, for example, very powerful because it didn't show me like completely new ways. I knew everything that was in the book, but just having it written down somewhere where you know, oh, okay, you know, that's an actual thing, you know. And I think a lot of people feel like that. They feel like, oh, there is you know, there's two different ways or maybe three different ways to do stuff, but just reading it and actually like taking it in is very powerful in start making those changes that you described, to be like, oh, okay, you know, if I'm in a growth mindset, then might as well try that and see where it takes me. And I think that is really the first step in order to allow yourself to make those mistakes as well.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, what you're doing is definitely a strategy that that's very effective, or has been at least proven very effective for you. And it's really, it starts from the belief that, you know, you can do things differently. But I think for most people, at least for me, it was helpful as well to just understand, okay, there's two mindsets and this is an actual thing, and people you know about this now.
Yeah, that's true. But I think, as you said, like, okay, first the awareness, and then for me also another step, which is like the major foundation of a lot of things in life, is also how to talk to yourself, right? And what I mentioned briefly a couple of minutes ago here with the not yet mindset. Yes, maybe I'm not there that I'm a professional basketball player, but let's see where the journey it takes me. So a lot of things, and that's also one of the pillars of like a fixed mindset, that I can't go there. Like, it's a given. I'm not managing it. Whereas in a growth mindset, I'm like, okay, maybe at some point, but the journey is what makes it fun, right? I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to grow and to be better or to improve myself. So this is for me the pillar of the growth mindset. And for me, it's about positive self-talk. Yeah. And I mean, I do a lot of affirmations, right? And I mean, in general, I think I managed to think very highly of me. Being in line with values and trying to give a lot. So I'm thinking most of the time that I'm a good person, and that that really helps to also grow in a sense. And I see that with a lot of my friends that maybe are not there yet in terms of growth mindset, that they're limiting themselves because of the negative self-talk. Yeah, I can't do this. And, I'm not smart enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not young anymore. Yeah. Like all these excuses and all this like very negative talk to and about yourself. And I think, and this is the major foundation of actually how to grow, because you need to be kind to yourself as you would be to your friends. Why would you be so harsh on yourself? But on your friends, you would never say, you're too old for that.
So true. Yeah. This is so true. Like, when you would say something like that to me, I would immediately say, like, what are you talking about? You know, why are you saying so mean things about you? It's totally not true. But I would totally say that to myself. And
it's so weird, right?
I actually think that what you said there is, so first of all, it's completely right. And like how to talk to yourself, I think I've only learned that in the last couple of months, to actively use.
Oh, really?
To actively use it as a tool. So when I now catch myself having these thoughts, I recognize them as just thoughts, and then I question them. Like, I question you if you would tell me this.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the proactivity in managing your own self-talk can be a complete game changer. So I think I've done it before, but now I really do it consciously. Like, I have a thought that says something like, you can't do this, you're not ready. And then I pretend it's, I'm asking myself as if you would ask me, why do you think, that's bullshit? Like, why can you not do this? Of course you can, so really using proactive self-talk to help you overcome that is definitely one strategy. And also, if you so that's one strategy, to do that yourself. But even better is when you have friends and a support network who can constantly do that. So
yes, I think that's important, especially if you brought up and your parents didn't do that. And I mean, I have friends in my circle that their parents were really, who am I to judge, but I think they did some really big mistakes when they were raising their kids, in a sense of like holding them back, and just not raising them in terms of, okay, grow and you can try and you can fail and it's fine. They're just like, no, you need to behave, this needs to be that way, you can't do this because you're limited by, and they still believe it. And I feel with some of them, it really helped the way you talk to them over and over. So coaches or therapists can really help there, in my opinion, because you're opening up the belief system and you can overcome. But, and again, in the end, you always need to start with yourself. And even if your friends and family tell you that, if you fundamentally don't agree and don't believe, it won't change a thing, right? And I see that also with friends of mine that are not changing anything, even though they know there's a differentiation of a fixed and growth mindset, even though they see themselves in a fixed mindset, they are not capable of changing it. Because, there are so many beliefs coming with it and so many fears. And you've been in this mindset, especially in our age now, so old, in our 30s, we lived with this belief set for like 30-ish years. And to break that open and to just radically change things. Imagine your whole worldview is like turned upside down. Wait, 30 years of my life, I was telling myself I can't do things, and I lived in misery, and I was like not feeling fine, and I wasn't happy. And then it turned out I just need to have like one mindset shift, and then boom, the world is my oyster, and I can create my own reality. So that's basically agreeing to suffer that was a failure and suffered for 30 years just because. So it's also a lot of like, you need to have a lot of power to overcome that, and a lot of willingness to prove yourself wrong. And imagine, for me, like the beautiful things of just seeing that you can do literally everything. I don't get it why you would choose to be in this misery and still thinking this is a fixed mindset, or that this is a fixed world and you can't change. But yeah, for some, it's really fearful to break out of that.
Totally. Yeah. Because as you say, then they have to ask themselves, oh shit, now this was an easy way to shift. So what did I do for 30 years? And then that comes with the vulnerability to say, oh, maybe, there's just, I did it wrong. And, or maybe I could have done it better or so. And having that openness to go on that journey again and like trying new things, I think is the key thing. And also, I find that even with my parents, I feel like they're more or less in a growth mindset, but they weren't always. And I feel like they are also like opening up to it even more now. And I remember my mom saying like a few years back, well, it is just the way it is. I'm like that. I'm like 50 years old, blah, blah, blah. And I can tell now, I think she's overcoming that, bullshit in her head as well. And she's also changing in some respect. And so
that's amazing.
That's amazing. Like because people take all sorts of excuses. I can't do it because I'm like this old, or have always done it. And this is the challenge that you're describing, to really look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you can actually do it. Yeah. There is nothing that stops you. So that's a harsh realization to make. But if you do it, you can change when you're 60, 80, whatever.
That's true. So one learning is definitely, it's never too late. You can always change your life and for the better when you're changing that. But another thing is what I realized, because it kind of feels too easy or seems too easy. Wait, I can just change. Yeah. That's not possible, right? Just with like one finger snip, I can change and make my own reality. And, just positive self-talk, if I'm writing down affirmations every day, or if I'm talking to me positively in the mirror for like 3 minutes a day, that can't change my reality. It actually can, but it sounds so simple. So people also don't do it. It's hilarious, actually.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It's too easy. I need to have the hard way.
Yes, people always think they have to go the hard way. Yeah. I think this is just how humanity is wired. We always think, it needs to be complicated, it needs to be complex, and it's you can almost not believe it when things are very simple. And when you look at like very successful people, they usually, it's not rocket science what they do. No. They just go out with like one strong message or one key trait, or it's very simple usually what they do. Actually, that's also something that I have then came to realize when I really full power into my growth mindset. I noticed that a few years back, I would have find it intimidating, or not intimidating, but I would always think, well, that person can do it because, you know, they have that gift also.
Yeah.
And now I look at the most successful people in the world, and I actually think I can do this too.
Yeah, that's amazing.
In my own way.
Yes.
Thanks.
No, it's a big step, definitely. You
It's
always
a
see that
huge
others
step.
can do things, but you can't because of your limitations.
Yes.
Or they had an unfair advantage by knowing this person, having better education, having more money, having a great childhood, having blah, blah, blah. So you're putting up excuses. So
having an audience or whatnot, right? So now, like a few years back, I would have thought, oh, you know, for example, this podcast, for example, in a fixed mindset, you would think, you'd look at all the podcasts out there and you'd be like, well, I can't do this because A, there's 10,000 podcasts out there. B, they have an audience. C, you know, they have so much more to say. D, whatever I am saying, someone else said before, fixed mindset, can't do it. In this case, I'm now thinking, yeah, there's 10,000 podcasts out there. Yeah, we have not a huge audience yet. We don't really yet. Yeah, yet we don't, you know, we kind of winging it, you know, we're bringing something we're talking about things that we know and we think that could be valuable, but, you know, do we have proof that it's valuable to people? No idea. How can we find out? By actually doing it. Can we become like really big in our area? Now I'm thinking, yeah, totally we can, because we just need to figure it out, and we just need to keep on doing it. And like, what's the worst case that happens? No one tunes in.
Exactly. Oh God, someone tunes in. But that was the thing also in the beginning. I mean, for us, that's why one of the KPIs we set for ourselves is like, okay, we want to have fun with this. As long as we have fun, it is a success for us. So we just wanted to try. It's not a thing, oh my God, what if there are only like 10 people listening to it? First of all, just for the record, there are more people than 10 now.
Yeah. But there's actually a lot more than that.
A lot more than that. But, you know, it was also like the perception of it, like for us, it was just trying and having fun. And if not, then what? Just 10 people. So what? We had fun with the process, and we're still having, obviously. So that's why we keep doing it. But in a fixed mindset, you would say, as you said, I'm not managing to be number one in a month. Of course not. Maybe we're number one in our category in a year from now. We don't know. But we love the journey towards it, and we love to learn. That we say less arms, and we have better intros and get better prepared. So with every session we're doing, we're learning for ourselves and we're growing. And I think this is key in everything.
Yeah, and you know what, actually, just as I said that, like a few years back, I would have thought I can't do it. And now I actually do think I can do anything in this world. I think everyone, and so this is the thing, if I can go from, I can't do this to, you know, I look at this billionaire there, and I know, like, if I really want it, and if I just keep on being persistent and do my thing and do what I'm meant to do, I can do it as well. Yeah. So for me, going from that mindset to, you know, to a complete growth mindset, I think that in itself is proof enough that it's everyone can step into a growth mindset.
But you're so disciplined.
Yeah. Oh my God, Tanya, thank you for saying that, because this would be the next, this is what any critic then would say. But you're disciplined. And then, you know,
which is true. Which helps.
It helps. But why am I so disciplined? Is because I'm reading all of these books. I'm educating myself. I'm training myself. And what I pick up is you got to be extremely disciplined. So then again, I streamline my discipline. I streamline my day. I streamline, you know, all of these things. Why? Because I learned about them.
But so I love it, and I love it so different, because I would never say that I'm a disciplined person, right? But I also grow. So I think I love it that there's so many different ways of how to get there. Yeah. Because also, obviously, like seeing with me, you don't need to be disciplined. Like, and you still manage to go through life in a perfect and nice and happy way. So there is no one recipe, and you just need to try and find out and learn on the go, right? Yeah. And then maybe it's discipline, maybe it's just, I don't know, having fun on it, and trying, you know, failing.
So true. Yeah. And what you said, like when you just started, but that, whenever you catch yourself saying but, then you should immediately recognize, oh shit, mindset.
I'm making an excuse.
I'm making an excuse. Yeah. And that is all it is. Yeah, there's different ways of getting it, but that in itself should be like a complete, you know, a red flag. Oh, I'm in a fixed mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
I don't even bring up the mental capacity anymore to say but. I'm like looking for ways to say, oh, amazing. Okay, how can I get there? few years back, I would have maybe said, oh, but now I'm like, but it's really fixed mindset. Like, I don't want to waste energy on that.
No, of course not. No, and I think it's excuses. I mean, we have, I love this, like one quote, like we all have the 24 hours, like Beyonce, right? So we all can just get started and grow and get somewhere where we want. We just need to, do it. That's the key. And like, I mean, there are so many like success stories where people just like literally came from nothing and worked their way up, and a success story from like dishwasher to millionaires, or like, being in a painful childhood trauma setting and then growing from that and like leading companies now. So you can't excuse, like you can't put up the excuses anymore. It's like there's literally so many people out there who made it possible and who are showing us like every day that it is possible if you really want to, and if you set your goals there, and if you feel you can, and then just make it happen. But it's like this victim mentality, and I can't, and coming up with excuses is just like, it's not valid anymore.
So in the light of, growth mindset and adopting that, I have, for example, I was thinking, how can I make this more valuable for people who are listening as well? So like, I want to find a way to bring in even more value to our listeners, right? So I was like, okay, how can I do this? So I wrote a few notes actually on, how to actually act on a growth mindset. So I'm pointing this out because there might be somebody listening thinking, oh, but, she's so clear on, how you can actually overcome it. I have no idea. It's not that, these things, they are placed in my head. No, I actually have to sit there and think, how can you actually act on it?
Mm.
So do you want me to share too?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, please share.
Thanks. So I wrote down how can you actually act on it? You can create and commit a plan on how you are actually acquiring new skills. So if for example, I want to become a better leader, a very simple step is to start creating a checklist. I use Microsoft To Do, and it has a book leadership column where I wrote down all the leadership books that have been recommended to me or that I've researched. So I know by the end of reading 20 books on leadership, I will have increased my skills. I've set a timeline on it. Like, I want to read this by, that date. And of course, I'm not like super rigid because things always change, but I have like a goal to work towards. So you can do, for example, you create a list of books that help you to develop that skill, or you create or you attend an online course or so, but you have to plan it and you have to put it in your diary. You have to know when you do these things and like why you're doing them as well. More importantly, why. Best you work with somebody who holds you accountable on that. So a lot of people say, keep your goals private. And I don't know what there's a saying that keep it quiet in the background and then, go out with results or something like that. I think it's the opposite. I think you should tell people what you're up to because they will help you reach these goals in most cases, and B, they can keep you accountable. So I tell you all the time what I'm up to.
And that's true.
Yeah. Like,
and I'm getting, by the way, inspired by it and thinking, damn, this girl. Then I'm starting to rework these things as well. So yeah, you definitely should share. 100%.
I share it all the time. I share it I share it with so many people. I'm not afraid of people saying, you should really just share your achievements. I think it's wrong. I think you should share whatever you want to acquire. So again, to hold you accountable. And because when I tell you something, you ask me about it. You'd be like, hey, how's that going? And also to tell people to make it more real, because once you say it, you definitely remember, you should really do that. Then find friends who have a growth mindset and call them if you fall back into the fixed mindset I wrote down. So ideally you have a group of friends who are all in that same journey that you can actually call and just say, hey, can you call me out on that BS? Which is also what I do with you and a couple of other people as well. I remember there was a situation, I think last week, where I said, like, can you just tell me that I'm on the right track? Remember that was
I remember that,
job thing. And I just needed to reaffirm that I'm actually on the right track with what I'm already doing. And so I don't get distracted by stuff that is getting back into a fixed mindset. And then when you recognize your fixed mindset, so for example, you say, but you are, just recognize it as a fixed mindset. Just tell yourself, hey, this is, wrong belief.
True.
And lastly, maybe you put it on your wall, your vision board or whatnot. Unfortunately, podcast is obviously not video, but I have a wall right next to me and it says all sort of things. And it reminds me of what I'm here to do and what I'm capable of. So I just have that right in front of me. So I'm constantly being reminded. So that would be my action plan, to actually act on a growth mindset.
That is great. I think by the end, but it starts that you really need to understand that you have the power to create your reality. Because if you don't believe in that, all of that is like, why would I do it if it's not possible in the end, right? So you need to convince yourself. And I think one thing, just give it a try for 1 week. Just for 1 week, try to be in this mindset. And then you can still go back to the fixed one. Just for 1 week and see if something changes. And it will make a difference within the week already. That's what I'm trying to say to people that are asking me how to do it. Just for 1 week, doing all those things and then reevaluate. Because for 1 week, you can go over yourself. It's fine. And then you don't want to go back because you see it's
there's
working.
nothing to lose. There's
nothing
to lose, really. You can't achieve another outcome with the same actions. I think I keep quoting people and I don't know.
You're stealing ideas.
It's probably in all the books that I'm reading. But anyway, I guess that summarizes it well.
Yeah.
I hope. I hope this is useful for people to listen to. Again, since we are on that topic of growth mindset, do let us know if you find it's not. And feedback. It and see what we can make out of it.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.